Hey, good morning, everybody. I think today is July 10th. Um, haven't done a video um, about the emotional side so much of cancer recently. And, I every now and then I talk to friends or I see posts on Facebook about, oh, you're so, excuse me, oh, you're so strong and this and that. I'm like, you know, I mean, in a way, when you accept something that's difficult, whether it's a loss of a loved one, loss of a job, some kind of a loss or a hardship, um, it can either destroy you or make you stronger. And it's a choice. Now, not everybody has the same ability to make that choice. Sometimes they need help to make that choice. So some people may not be as comfortable talking about their condition and their mortality as others. So it can be hard for people to um, you know whether or not you're one of those people who are willing to talk about it. And I think as a cancer patient, if you are one of those people who are willing to talk about it, or any kind of person with a hardship that they've grown from, it's okay. I think it's helpful for others if you are upfront about it, if you're willing to be, because sometimes people can learn from your process and it'll help them through their process when their time comes for their hardship. Um, so, for instance, for me, when in 2016 I was, still teaching, and when 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 I had a biopsy done, and when they called me with biopsy, um, they says, "Oh, we need to have you come in and make an appointment." I'm like, "Just tell me over the phone. Whether you tell me over the phone or in person, it's not going to make a difference. Just tell me." So they told me that the cancer had come back, and I was devastated and I was depressed, and and I didn't want to talk to anybody about it because I hadn't processed it yet. I it's my kids were still at home. Um, I had responsibilities, and I was overwhelmed at that time. So if you know somebody who's going through a, a challenge, whether it's cancer or loss of whatever, you know the initial time probably isn't the best time to ask them about their situation, to get information out of somebody when someone's still trying to process their new diagnosis or their new situation. They need time, because how can they tell you anything if they don't know anything? So if you're dealing with somebody who's newly diagnosed with a disease that's going to alter their life, you know um, give them some time, but just be in the background. Don't abandon them, um, but don't pry. Not you know just say, hey, if you ever want to talk, I'm here. If you need any help, I'm here. But then just leave it at that and say, hey, let's go have lunch. Don't linger on it, because they're already lingering on it. It's already on their mind 24/7. So when someone's dealing with a hardship of any kind, just let them know that you're there, you're available, and that you're willing. That you're there and you're available. That's it. That way they know they're not alone. Because a lot of people, and I have been abandoned by people who I thought loved me because of my cancer, because they can't handle it. Some people just can't handle the thought of losing somebody, and so they'd rather just run away. And that's how they deal with it. And you can't be mad at that, because not everybody can deal with mortality the same as I can. I've accepted it. And to be honest, I've gone through enough suffering because of my disease that I'm not afraid to be gone. I'm not at this point in my life. I've been dealing with stage 4 cancer since 2016, and it's 2022. And I've gone through hospitalizations and massive pain and fatigue and just loss of desire, and I'm doing very well right now. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even though my cancer is in the left lung sac is pretty extensive. I'm doing good, all things considered. So I'm not in a bad place right now. But there's times when I'm just like, I just wanted to give up because I was so exhausted and tired, and it's like I've had I've had time to come to terms, time to prepare my kids, time to prepare my friends and family. That yeah, maybe within the next year I might not be here, but that's okay because everything dies. Everything. Trees, birds, ants, spiders, people, everything dies. It's a part of the cycle of life. And it's harder for those who remain behind. For people like me who have known it's coming, and who have dealt with the emotions and the situation and prepared themselves and those around them as much as humanly possible, the end isn't so scary anymore. I mean, the only thing that's scary about me is I don't want to suffer in the end. When it's my time, I hope to go quickly. When my body says it's done, I hope it be. I mean, if I have a week, of dying, so to speak, then that's fine. I don't want to be suffering for months. When my body's ready to go, I just want it to happen, within a reasonable amount of time, and then we're done. I mean, with my belief system, I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person, and I'm also a physicist. And the way I believe in the cycle of life is that this body is just a temporary vehicle for a part of the universe's consciousness to experience life in this particular body. These experiences, going through adoption and being rejected and having a divorce and having kids, those are all experiences that this body and spirit have had. And so, I've learned a lot of lessons through life, and it's taught me a lot and humbled me, and taught me what's important, what's not important. And some of those things, I do want to make some videos on, because I think it's important to share some of those lessons I've learned and that's brought me peace. And I hadn't had peace in my life for a very long time. I'd say in the last 10 years, I've found peace. And that's partially through, learning from my mistakes in my relationships with people, and how I treated myself. I'm not a drug user or anything. I've never been a drug user, but I let people walk all over me for much of my life. I put myself second for much of my life. And it caused a lot of emotional damage to the point where I don't think I could ever be in another physical relationship with somebody again, because there's too much bad memories there. So, I learned something from that. But I'm being single, living alone. I mean, it can be kind of hard when you're not feeling well to live alone, but I'm very comfortable alone. I'm very comfortable in my solitude. I can feel, drink, do whatever I want without worrying about the other person getting offended or being annoyed. Because people do, they get offended and annoyed easily sometimes, and or they feel neglected because you're not feeling well. I have that situation. There's days when I'm just so tired, I don't want to interact with anybody. And so if I had a companion who lived with me, that person would feel neglected. And I want anybody to have to go through that. So, but I do have friends that I see every day. I work with somebody who's a very, dear friend of mine. And, that's enough. I have a connection with people. My daughter's not far away. I think we're becoming a little closer through this, last year or so. And, you just need connection with somebody. You don't have to have someone living in your house to feel connected. But so when people are dealing with a challenge, you just got to give them time and be there, you know. And then if they want to talk about it, then let them talk about it. If they don't pry. Because then, you know, they may not be ready to, they may not have coped with or accepted the situation. It took me to really accept the stage 4 diagnosis probably about a year. About a year from the phone call. You know, I had to come to terms with the fact that I was going to die from this disease much earlier than I probably would have died, you know, naturally if I'd been healthy. You know, I'm not even 50 yet, and I might make it to 50. Depends on how this new treatment goes. So just give people time, a little bit of space, but don't disappear. If you care about somebody who's going through a challenging time, whether it's emotionally or physically or whatever, just let them know you're there. But, you know, it's, you know, this one particular person who basically just ran away from me. It was very painful. And that was another challenge that I had to overcome. I couldn't understand why this person did that. But, you know, another part of my spiritual philosophy is, you know, like when it comes to other people, you can't change other people. You can't. Their brain is wired in a certain way. You know, just like the politics. People are wired in a certain way, and it's almost impossible to change people's minds. You know, so, and you have to accept that fact that you can't change them. You have to let them run their life path. And, you know, as a consequence of that person running away from the situation, they will probably have regrets, you know. I mean, this person was close to me. At least I thought they were close to me. But I'm not angry with this person. Initially, I was very angry because I couldn't understand why this person would do that, what they'd done to me. But given time, I was able to process it and realize that this person's probably running away for a number of reasons. It was an adult, so it's not like a little kid running away. It's an adult. And, you know, I had to forgive that person for doing that because, you know, this is a hard time in my life. You know, I'm coming towards the end of my life. And it was important to me to have these people in my life, and now this one person's gone. And it felt like I'm being abandoned. And it's going to happen. There are certain people who just can't handle that kind of emotional strain. They haven't reached that level of emotional maturity. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a fact of life. And you can't be mad at them. I mean, you can, but it's not going to do you any good. It's only going to hurt you. It's going to cause you suffering. And if you try to force the issue with that person, it's going to cause them suffering, and it's only going to make things worse. So, like what I did with this person was I just, look, when you're ready to talk, I'm here. You know, I still love you. But, you know, and I left it at that. I mean, because it was very painful for this person to basically write me out of their life. But they did it for their own reasons. I mean, you know, I thought maybe it was something I had done, but I think the excuses that were given for why this person was doing this initially, what they were telling me, I think it was just an excuse. I don't think it was really the true reason, and that's okay. Because, you know, they may not want to say, oh, well, I don't want to be around when you die. It's going to be too hard for me. You know, and that's okay. I mean, it would have felt better for me if that person had said that. But, you know, this person is, you know, ego plays a role. You know, it's like they don't want to admit that that's a weakness, and that's okay. You know, we all have ego issues and pride issues, and it's unfortunate, you know. I mean, this could be my last year I have a Christmas. I would have loved to have this person a part of my life for Christmas, and it's not going to happen. And that's okay. I've accepted that. Because people have their own life path, and I can't change that. I could have wishes and desires. I can be disappointed, but you can't expect people to do what you want. You can't expect people to think the way you think or feel the way you feel. Expectations is like one of those things. I think it's a Buddhist belief. That's it's a root of suffering. When you expect people, especially when you expect somebody else to do something, the way you want it done, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and suffering. So I've learned, painstakingly, that not to expect things from people, and to be pleasantly surprised when they do what I hope and wish. So instead of expecting them to come see me for Christmas, I would hope and wish they would come see me for Christmas. And if they don't, I would be disappointed, and that's okay. It can be, it's like, because you're used to seeing these people for holidays, but that's part of life. People come and go out of our lives, and it's just how it is. So, and whether that's just they leave or they die, I mean, nothing stays the same. There's lots of songs about it, so it's just how it is. But, but when it comes to somebody who's suffering, like, because of a challenge like a disease or something that's going to drastically alter their life or cause them to die early, give them time, be there, but don't push it. And if you need to take a little break from them because, you maybe say you really, really care about this person who's sick and dying, excuse me. If you need to take a little break, just do it quietly. Because, the person who's suffering is already suffering, If you need to take a break from knowing that they're suffering, then I can understand that. But, we need connections. And people who don't have connections when they're suffering, they tend not to last as long. When people suffer physically or like through a disease, and then they start suffering emotionally because people are abandoning them or making them feel bad for whatever reason, it'll shorten their lifespan even more. I mean, the treatments the body and mind are definitely connected. And, I mean, if a person doesn't feel happy, if they feel like they're suffering, they're not going to exercise. That's a very important part of any disease process, is you need to exercise. You need to get up. You need to have a purpose. You need to be busy as much as your body will allow you to. Because when you stop using your body, the body goes, oh, you don't need me anymore? Okay, well, it's time to die. You don't use it, you lose it. And they think it's just a male organ that they talk about. No, that's the human body. If you don't use your human body, if you just sit on the couch or lay in bed all day long, your body's going to go, oh, well, you don't need these muscles. We're just going to get rid of them. Oh, you don't need these bones. They're going to become brittle and break. Oh, you don't need, you're not going to use and be exercising. Well, your heart, we don't need to have the muscle of the heart be that strong and the lungs to be that strong. Everything's going to get weak. And then all you need is one little, sickness and you're going to die. So it's just one of those things where you have to use it or lose it, even through the hardest of your parts of your life, because if you don't, it won't last. So mental suffering could have extremely harmful effects through the physical, because the brain controls what the body does. If your brain's not wanting to do anything, their body is going to deteriorate just because of lack of use. And when it becomes lack of use, then the body goes, okay, well, I'm not needed, so it's just time to die. Get the idea? So mental suffering is extremely potent killer. The physical part, yeah, it does suck. But the physical part can cause mental suffering as well. But the mental suffering causes a totally different kind of deterioration. So it's important that people feel that connection, and without the connection, the suffering it can be unbearable. It's like, why am I staying alive? No one gives a damn about me. That's the kind of thing that can go through people's minds when everybody runs away. So having a connection with at least one person can save your life. One person. I know when I was a teenager, I was extremely depressed. And I had one family member who I could confide in. And that person probably saved my life. And because I used to think about suicide as a teenager because I was so depressed, how many different ways I could kill myself. Because I felt nobody gave a damn except for this one person. The person cared. There was some other emotions in there that may have been slightly inappropriate by the other individual, but nothing bad ever happened. It's just they could tell there was other emotions involved. But the fact of the matter is that person cared enough to be a part of my life when I needed somebody there, because I didn't feel like anybody else cared. I would literally lay in bed, like, see if I slipped my wrist here, how long would it take me to die? If I jumped in front of a truck or off down the hill or ran away and starved to death, or, different ways, because I didn't have a connection. I didn't feel like I had any connection until this person came to my life. So having connection with somebody is important, especially if you're suffering emotionally, because it gives you a reason to keep going. So if somebody is suffering from a disease or an emotional disease, just being there, being available. Say, hey, if you need to call me, talk to me. I have another friend who went through a very stressful life event, and it's been a couple of years, and they're still struggling with it, but they've made a lot of headway. But they needed somebody to talk to, and I would spend hours talking with this person, day after day after day, and talk about the same things over and over again, because they were trying to process it, and they were having a really hard time processing. And so I made myself available. I said, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. Just give me a call. And she did. And, and now she's doing much better. She still has bad days. We all have bad days. We'll have, someone could say something and it just kind of brings everything back. And I've had that happen as well, But the important thing to remember is to let it go and to have that connection. Because without it, there's being by yourself, not having, even if you just have a really wonderful pet, that can be enough to save your life. But if you are living in a box by yourself, no other living creatures around to interact with, it's not healthy. It's not healthy. We even if it's just a rat, or a pet spider, we need connection to something else living. And and part of my spiritual belief is the feeling of separation is an illusion, because we're really not separated. We're not. We are all so interconnected in ways that we have no idea. When one person suffers in our community, we call it kind of a butterfly effect, where the people who see it, they feel sad. And then the people who feel sad, that makes their day a little less positive. And then when they interact with other people, that sadness kind of spreads. It's like a wave. So the people nearest to suffering have the biggest, impact. But as the people, as you get further away from the initial suffering, the amount of pain goes out. But it's like a wave. And so every time someone's suffering in our community or around us, it does affect everybody. It's subtly, the more distant from the sufferer, the more subtle it is, but it's there. And when we see people suffering regularly, it has an impact. And I can vouch for that personally 100%, as a teacher working in a low-income school and seeing the kids suffer and seeing their sadness. And I think that had a very huge impact on my disease, because I still worked and I could feel their pain. I'm empathic, or I can pick up other people's emotions. Maybe it's because I'm good at reading body language. I don't know. Whatever. Maybe it's an energy sensation. I don't know. I can't explain it. But when people are sad, I feel like it's my sadness, even if it's far away. Like my friend who's going through a hard time right now. I mean, I've felt a little bit sad the last couple of days. Just thinking about it. Because I can feel her pain. So, excuse me, I'm trying to gather myself here. Breathe. It's not my pain. It's not my pain. I'm just sensing her suffering. See, her suffering is like, I feel her suffering, and I don't want her to suffer. I mean, I have my own suffering, right? I have my own suffering. So, but, I'm one of those people who can feel other people's pain, I can sense that they're unhappy, and she's not even here. I can tell that she has a hard time when she's not at work, and she's not at work right now. It's weekend, and so she's at home alone with her thoughts, and she's struggling to cope and understand and have positive talk about herself, and I've tried to remind her, says, look, you're a good person, you don't deserve to make yourself suffer and tell yourself that's otherwise. Don't let one person make you feel bad. They may say you're a friend, but that doesn't mean they really are looking out for your emotional well-being. So, when someone suffers, other people suffer because of it. And so it's whatever we can do as individuals to help other people feel less suffering, it'll help the whole world. It ricochets out like a wave, with little waves, right? So, not everybody is empathic, and that's simple fact of life. I just have been very empathic all my life, and it's hard when you can feel other people suffering. I mean, when I was working as a teacher, I could feel my kids' suffering, and only way I could survive being a teacher was to try to put up walls around my mind so that I wasn't feeling all their pain all the time. But to do that, though, you're kind of shutting yourself off, and it's not a healthy thing to do that either. So, being a teacher and being empathic, it can be bad for your health. I mean, I didn't know I couldn't find a way to deal with it. Because, I mean, other than accept the fact that I can't change their lives, all I can do is share my wisdom in life. Help them, help them learn what I learned, to help them so they don't suffer as much, and to let them know that, look, there are going to be people out there who are going to cause you suffering, but you get to remember, just you be a good person, you do the right thing, be proud of who you are, and that stuff won't affect you as much. It might hurt a little bit when they say it, because no one likes being told, oh, you're ugly, or you're stupid, or you're not a good person. No one likes hearing those things. But once you've accepted that, yes, I am a good person, and when I do things, I do things that I would be proud of, and I try to do things where I won't have regrets. When you can say that to yourself, nothing people can say to you is going to matter. That's where I've reached in my life. I live my life with the intent of not hurting anybody, not hurting myself. I have, part of my personality is I have a really high moral standard where, I don't like to lie, cheat, steal, break the laws. Because, doing all that stuff causes stress and suffering. Why would I want to do that? The laws and things, they're there for a reason to protect us. A lot of times they're there because people sometimes are just not intelligent enough to do the right thing, or emotionally intelligent to do the right thing. But that's how humanity is. So we have to accept that. But I don't need to be told not to shoot and kill people. I don't need to be told not to go steal people's things. I don't need to be told not to go rob banks or run people over. It's morally irreprehensible for me to even think about doing that stuff. But there are people who have very little control over their emotions, and they would do that if they didn't have consequences. So, we have to accept that people don't think the same way as each other, and that's why we have laws. But anyway, this video is getting really long. But it's more just to help you understand how, how I came to terms with my cancer diagnosis, my way of thinking, and maybe it'll give you some ideas on how to help yourself through your hard times. You know, we all need, when we encounter a diagnosis or, a job loss or family loss, we need time to process. But if you sit there and run away from the problem and you don't process it, so you don't think, well, why is this making me so sad? You have to ask yourself questions. If you can't self-talk, and not everybody can think in their head, they have to speak out loud or write it down, then do that. But, write a journal and ask yourself questions. Why is this bothering me so much? Why am I so sad about it? And it'll help you process it. You need to talk to yourself about this, or talk to somebody else. So see a therapist. I don't need a therapist because I'm able to talk myself through a lot of my own problems. And if I can, I'll do some research and say, well, how do other people deal with this? But most of the time I can process my own problems. Like the cancer thing is like, no one wants to die, but it's going to happen to everybody. So I had to figure, well, why is this making me so sad? What am I so worried about? I was worried about my kids, so I did the best to stay alive and be healthy, to get them through high school and even through college, so, now that that's done, I feel like a big part of my life mission has been completed. So, that was a big relief, but if I hadn't been able to, I had to make plans. I had to solve these problems to find solutions for the things that were making me sad. So you ask, why is this making me sad? What can I do to make it better? What could happen to make this less painful? And that's what you do. You have to make a plan, through any hardship, because without a plan, all you can do is going to go in circles. It's going to be like a dog chasing its tail, round and round and round and round, and nothing's going to get better. You're going to suffer and suffer and suffer, and people around you are going to suffer, because it's suffering. It's like the wind. It spreads. It's like a fart. It doesn't stay in just one spot. It kind of wafts around, So, you have to address it. And the longer like my one friend, she used work to escape the pain of her situation. So it prolonged her suffering. But now she's more willing to address what's causing her the suffering. So soon, as she addresses her suffering, it'll become less, and she'll become a happier, more stable person. I mean, she's a stable person. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying she's not stable, but her happiness will be more stable. She won't have as many up and downs. She's a very good person. I mean, she has no reason to feel bad about who she is or what she's been through. But, the situation caused her to doubt herself, and that's what she's struggling with right now. But you have to address what's causing you suffering. Ask yourself, why is this making me so sad? Why do I feel this way? What can I do to make it feel better? And that's what people who go through like cancer diagnoses, they need to do, but sometimes they just don't know how to do it, and that's why if they're one of those people who need to talk, that's why they need somebody to say, hey, if you need to talk, I'm here. Because otherwise they're just going to suffer and suffer and suffer, and it'll cause them an early demise. So, that's a big thing. And I think finding a form of spiritual belief, about afterlife or whatever have you, was also very helpful for me. I mean, I don't believe in an entity, so to speak, as a god, but I think that the universe itself is like one big brain, and we're all a piece of that one big brain. And though maybe that universe, you can call the universe a god, but we're all part of God. If that's the case, we're all a little piece of a god. We're all part of the same thing. I mean, as a physicist, the energy that is our body and our brains, energy is not created or destroyed. That is a scientific fact. It just changes form. So when we die, our body changes form. It rejoins the universe. It becomes part of the whole again. So, and to me, that is very peaceful, because you don't just poof away. All that energy that was you, all those brain waves, all that energy you thought, it's in the universe. It's part of the whole. So whether or not we can exist as individuals within this whole, I don't know. I really don't care. You know, our time here impacts the other little individuals that we're all connected to. And it's one of those things where you can't escape it. What I do impacts people. And it may not impact a lot of people. It may not be a large impact, but I've had an impact on some of my students, on my kids, on my friends, just enough to like give them ideas on what they can do and how they maybe don't want to do something or how they want to do something. We all have an impact on people when we interact with other living things. So, my nose is running. So, if you are going through a rough patch, process information, stay connected, find peace, have a plan, and enjoy life, because you never know when it's going to end. None of us knows when our time is going to come. I could be gone tonight. Car accident, completely unrelated to the cancer. You just never know. Just never know. So, but if I died today, everything's my will is not done yet, but everything else has been taken care of, and it should be like not a big deal. Well, I'm gone. Okay, you guys get to deal with all my crap that's left over, but it's been dealt with, and that's part of my peace of mind, is I've taken care of most of my financial affairs, and I'm not going to leave a lot of trouble for the people behind me that get left behind. So that's, for me, that's people, because I'm a kind of person, like I've said, that doesn't want to cause anybody else any suffering. So my death, I can't avoid that part of the suffering, but leaving like massive debts, or leaving things completely undone, and having to have my children or my inheritors have to go through all kinds of mess and courts and stuff. I don't want to cause that kind of problem. In fact, I'm not even planning for a funeral, because I'm donating my body when I die. As long as I don't have COVID, they'll donate it. They'll take it. But no, I don't want to cause suffering even in my death. So it's a moral issue for me. I don't want I want to be happy, and I want people around me to be happy. I don't want to cause anybody suffering. Even people who've caused me suffering, I just don't have them in my life anymore. I will be polite. If I encounter those people who've caused me suffering, I will be polite. But if they become rude and disrespectful, then I just leave. I'm like, I'm sorry. You're making me not want to be around you, so I'm going to leave now. So goodbye. But maybe in my mind I'm going, you asshole, but we're humans, we have emotions, right? But I'm not going to treat you rudely. I might feel rudely about you in my mind, but it's temporary. It's just like that instant, like, why did you just do that? That's a jerky thing to do. But then, I'm thinking, okay, well, fine, be that way. Bye, And then the emotion, all that emotion that would have been there, it just goes poof. And then I'm like, okay. Like even road rage, same idea. People want to be jerks, and they have their own reasons. They're either late to work, or they had a bad day, or they had a fight with their spouse, or, they're miserable in their life. We just got to remember that people have those days, and they're going to be jerks on the road, and, you might get a little pissed off for a moment, but just let it go. Let it go. Don't let it ruin your whole day. That's just that person's bad day. Why let that person's suffering, which you can't change, do anything about? Why let it ruin your whole day? And then why let your suffering cause somebody else to be pissed off? And then it's just, why perpetuate the suffering? Don't do it. It's not worth it. So anyway, this video will probably take all day to upload because it's too friggin' long. But I wanted to share that, and hopefully somebody will get something out of it. Because sometimes we just need to hear someone else's thoughts, and maybe it'll give us some ideas. Anyway, guys, take care of yourself. Remember, find your joy, share your joy, and make memories worth remembering. Adios.